Alright, everybody, let's get into yet another review of the haves and the have-nots. So, Colby and his friends are naked in Veronica's pool. And of course, she's outraged. She went inside to get her gun, and Samuel was trying to defuse the situation and keep her from shooting anyone. And Jeffrey's out there telling, get out the pool. She's gonna shoot you and she'll get away with it. And two of Colby's friends, they get out of the pool and they're like, we're not here for all that. We don't want to get shot. And Colby, he's still like, ooh, in the pool, just not giving a care, He was not getting it that Veronica would really shoot him. And then what I noticed was Jeffrey kept trying to get out, and then he was going to turn around and run. And I'm like, really, Jeffrey, you're just going to run and leave the guy. And so Veronica gets out there, and she shoots at Colby, and then Colby's ready to get up and get himself out of there. And I'm like, yeah, now you get it. And so Samuel, he was able to, stop her from actually shooting Colby, and he got her, by the arms, and she's like, well, I don't like being overpowered by a man. And he ends up kissing her, and I'm like, oh, here it goes. I know that they are, that Samuel and Laura are trying to set Veronica up, but I'm wondering if he's going to get in too deep here. So, what's up next? So, Alyssa is back over there at David's, and she just is so, she's just so desperate. And she just says, well, I want to be kept in. I want a nice apartment. I want to get out of this game, and you can do whatever you want to me. I'm like, okay. Is it really getting out of the game to tell somebody they can do whatever they want to you in exchange for an apartment? I mean, yeah, it's one person, but you're still, like prostituting yourself for shelter. And it gets really dramatic. It takes just a really, dramatic turn, and she's talking about, well, I came before you when I was 9 years old. Um, and she says that her father was raping her and her sister, and that he killed their mother, and that David put their father away. He put him away for the rest of his life. And she says, well, I asked you where I was going to go after you put my father away. And I'm like, this is getting really weird. I mean, so she came before David in court. She's 9 years old, and now she's trying to seduce him. And he really could have put a stop to this. He did not have to let her go down on him, but and he's just standing there like he was listening. I think he could do, and he's like, you know what that meant. You know what that meant. I don't have to get into detail about that because you're smart enough to know that if you're watching the show. Okay. So Hannah, she's still struggling to handle Catherine's affairs, and she says, well, I've never been ashamed of being a maid. I like being of service, all of that. And so but still she's having trouble handling all of this. And but the guy's willing to help her. I still don't know his name yet. I might have missed it, but I'm still not sure of it yet. Um, and then he gets into telling her, you have beautiful eyes, and then has like, oh. She was kind of caught off guard by that, but I don't think she minded him saying it. But we know where this is going, and where this might go. I mean, obviously this guy has intentions for Hannah. Okay. So back at Madison's apartment, Colby's friends, they're outraged and they're like, this is not what we were get signed up for, what we were trying to get into. We don't want to die. And Colby's like, he's just like so nonchalant. He doesn't think Veronica was serious. And Jeffrey's looking at him like, and he just basically implies like that Colby is on drugs, and he's like, Colby's like, no, I don't do drugs. I drink a lot, but I don't do drugs. And and then he goes on and considers the pool to be a metaphor about Jeffrey living life and whatever and all of that. And Jeffrey just does not take any responsibility for his part in it. I mean, he did not have, obviously he gave them the address to get over there, and I'm I'm not sure if he drove them over there or what, but regardless, he gave them the address. He did not have to give them Veronica's address, but he likes to antagonize her, and he's used those other guys to do it. Now just one right, because Veronica is dangerous and she really doesn't like gay people, and Jeffrey doesn't want to take responsibility for it. And Madison comes home and he's asking what happened, and Jeffrey really, that's where he did not want to just say what that he had a part in it. You know, he didn't have to take them over there or give them the address or whatever. And so Colby gets a call, because he had been laying out there on Jeffrey's lap, talking about he needed some rest. And he gets a call and he goes to take it, and he's escorting. He's escorting like $200 an hour or something like that. And he's given all the rules of what he does and does not do and such and such. I only play safe, which is smart. And I wish more television shows would put that in there, because they got people doing all sorts of things and they don't mention any protection, and it's like, it is just a TV show, but you can put that in there. It's just to put a wise message out to the public, maybe make people think twice. But anyway, so Veronica, she calls this mercenary, and she's saying, okay, well, I'm being followed and I need that taken care of and all of that. And yeah, that was basically that, and it was a little bit of subtle. Veronica was like subtly flirting with the guy. She does that with a lot of the men on the show, and he told her, well, when I get done with this, you'll be massaging me. I'm like, okay. So, and Veronica, she wants to get information on Samuel and Laura because she does not trust them, and we know they're up to something. But now Veronica suspects they're up to something. So David goes over there to the police station because he had talked to Jim again at the hospital, getting his marching orders. And he went over there to the police station to get some information from this lady named Carmen, but she gave him nothing. Because apparently, and I guess he had an affair with her, and she said, you haven't talked to me in a long time. And he's like, well, it was because of Veronica. And she wasn't giving him any information, not about Wyatt or Catherine or anything. And she's like, and don't come here again. Don't come here again. So back at Veronica's, Samuel tells Veronica that her security camera was cut, and yeah, so I'm guessing the mercenary did that, or maybe it was somebody else. And then she wants to pay him for it, and he's like, no, no, I won't accept it. She tries to give him wine, and he's like, no, and he's like, I got to get home to my wife, and I don't want her asking a bunch too many questions. And Veronica's like, oh, she's possessive, and I'm like, number one, Veronica can't talk about anybody being possessive, and number two, it's not really possessive. to wonder about your spouse accepting wine from someone else. I mean, because that can be like a personal sort of thing. You know, you give somebody one, I don't know. I mean, if you're married, you might feel some kind of way about that. I don't know, but I don't think it's necessarily possessive for somebody to ask the question, well, where'd you get that wine? Um, so, Justin takes down all of Jeffrey's pictures and he's thinking about things that Jeffrey has said. And then Colby arrives. So, Justin is the client. And I'm like, okay, well, that, I mean, why am I not surprised? So I guess Justin thinks, okay, I'm going to take Jeffrey's pictures down and then I can get it on with the escort. And I'm like, Justin, you're just setting yourself to up to get obsessed with somebody else. That was the thing. That was the idea I was getting. But anyway, this whole thing with Colby didn't pan out because he's asking him a bunch of questions, and then not Jeffrey, and then Justin asked him, well, you said you're masculine in your ad, you know, because Colby was doing the whole like have the whole he had the whole, you know, like fabulous thing going on, and then he turns it off and I can be whatever you want me to. And Justin's like, you know what, this isn't gonna work. And then Colby's like, where's my money? And Justin's all, well, you've been here 2 seconds. Colby still wants his money. And then here comes Justin's brother. And he's like, what are you doing, Justin? You know, I knew you wouldn't do the right thing. And then he's asking Colby a bunch of questions. What are you doing? What are you doing here? Are you a prostitute? And Colby was, he made up a story like, well, I was here to see my friend. We go to the same gym. Justin's brother is all like, well, what gym, what street, blah, 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 all of this. And at first I thought Colby was going to be in some real trouble. But Justin's brother went to lay hands on him, and Colby beat the tar out of him. And I'm like, okay, that's what Justin's brother deserves. And I don't know why Justin was not fighting his brother, because his brother is not a very built person, and even Justin could have taken him, but you know, he was no match for Colby. I mean, Colby's a short guy, but he has muscle, so he's like, I'm a former Marine, so don't think you can, you know, just try to take me out. Don't make me mess up my makeup again. And then he got his money from Justin. Justin took out the money, and Colby's like, exit scene. Okay. And so this judge came over to Veronica's house, and he's flirting with her and all that, and and he thought it was about Catherine. She's like, no, I'm not trying to get any information about Catherine. And she's working on Celine's issues, and she gets him to, you know, to issue an order, you know, for so Celine can get $50,000, you know, the child support and all of that. And the guy's flirting with her, and he's telling Veronica, "Oh, you're so sexy," and Veronica's like, and she's playing along. And then once the guy gets out of there, she's like, "Ugh." And she'd ask him about his pacemaker, and she, of course, like I said, she was playing along, but she wasn't going to give him anything, not a thing. But it was obvious they had messed around before, because, Veronica has messed around to further her career. Way back, Catherine said, you slept with my father to get a scholarship or whatever. Veronica's a mess. And so, the last part, Wyatt just is always always in a mess, and I'm like, it's just a cycle. He gets out of a mess, he cycles back into it. So basically, Vinny slit his wrist again, and I'm like, you know what? Wyatt's this storyline is getting tired. It's like, Is he going to die or is he going to survive? Is he going to keep going round and round, back on drugs and stuff, and just ending up in peril or whatever he's going? I mean, it just is really repetitive at this point. But that, let me make sure I got everything. Yeah. Okay, so that was the show. It was pretty good. Tell me what you think. Drop a comment below and always like and subscribe, and I will see you the next time. Bye.